Have you ever met someone who makes you question your own sanity? You walk away from them exhausted, confused, like your energy's been quietly stolen. You can't explain it, but something in you feels smaller every time they're around. You tell yourself to ignore it, to not let it get to you, but deep down, you feel it, the invisible pull, the way they twist your emotions, shift your words, make you doubt what you know is true. You start wondering if it's your fault, if maybe you're overreacting, but you're not. You've simply been standing too close to someone who feeds off your peace. Toxic people don't need to shout to control you. They don't need to fight you to win. They use something much more powerful. Your reactions. They study them. They provoke them. They drain your focus and make you question your worth until you're too tired to fight back. And that's how they win, not by strength, but by pulling you into their storm. The more you react, the deeper you sink. The more you try to prove your side, the more control they gain. But what if you could stop the game entirely? What if, no matter what they said, they couldn't touch you? Imagine the silence in your mind when their chaos no longer reaches you. Imagine the strength in walking away without a single word and knowing deep down they didn't take a piece of you this time. This isn't about pretending to be okay. It's about becoming unshakable. Because there's one truth toxic people can't stand. They can't manipulate someone who's mastered their emotions. They can't twist what you no longer give them access to. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing what you feel. It's about owning it so completely that no one else can use it against you. When you learn to sit with anger without exploding, with pain without breaking, with fear without running, you become untouchable. You stop being a target. Toxic people want reaction. They live for the spark in your eyes when you're angry, the tremble in your voice when you're hurt. They crave that validation, the proof that they still have power over you. But when you no longer give them that, they start to fade. They get louder at first, more desperate. They push harder, say crueler things, dig deeper into your insecurities. But you'll notice something. They start to look smaller. You'll see them for what they are, weak people disguised as powerful ones, terrified of losing control. And you'll stop taking their words personally, because none of it was ever about you. It was about the emptiness inside them. When you master your emotions, you build a fortress around your peace, not a wall that shuts the world out, but a boundary that decides what gets to live inside you. You start choosing your responses instead of reacting from pain. You learn to pause, to breathe, to observe without absorbing. That pause is everything. Science calls it emotional regulation, but it feels like freedom. It's that moment between what they do and what you decide to feel. That single moment breaks their power. It turns manipulation into noise. And that silence, that's your strength speaking. You'll begin to notice the shift. The things that used to shake you barely move you now. The people who thrived on your reactions will look confused, lost, powerless. You'll feel calm in situations that once made you spiral. And slowly you'll realize this peace was always there. It was just buried under years of reacting to people who didn't deserve your energy. You'll stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You'll stop trying to fix people who enjoy being broken. You'll stop carrying guilt that was never yours to hold. And when someone tries to pull you into chaos, you'll smile quietly, because now you see the game, and you've already won by refusing to play. The truth is, they can't shake you anymore because you've stopped letting them touch what matters most, your mind, your peace, your power. And when that happens, something incredible unfolds. Their control dissolves, their words lose weight, and for the first time you feel light, grounded, free. You were never too sensitive. You were never the problem. You just hadn't learned yet that emotional mastery isn't about being cold. It's about being so warm inside that no one's darkness can put out your fire. There comes a moment when you finally see how much of your life you've spent reacting to others. How many times you've given your peace away just to keep someone else comfortable. How often you've silenced your own voice to avoid conflict that never should have existed in the first place. You start to realize it's not them you need to fight. It's the part of you that still seeks their approval, because that's the hook. That's how they keep you tethered to their chaos. They convince you that if you just try harder, love deeper, stay calmer, you'll finally be enough for them. But you won't. You never will. Because what they want isn't love, it's control. And the moment you see that clearly, everything changes. You stop chasing people who confuse attention with affection. You stop explaining yourself to those who've already decided not to understand you. You start protecting your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Every reaction, every word, every ounce of energy you give them is a gift they haven't earned. And when you finally stop giving it, you take back the one thing they can't survive without: your emotional participation. They thrive in your chaos, but they drown in your calm. And that's the quiet revenge. Your peace becomes their punishment. It won't be easy at first. Your mind will crave the old patterns. You'll want to explain, to defend, to prove your side. That's the trap. That's how they pull you back. But this time, you'll pause. You'll breathe. You'll remember that you don't owe anyone your peace. You'll remember that silence is not weakness, it's strategy. You'll start to see how powerful you are when you no longer need to be understood by those who will never listen. Because when you stop needing validation from broken people, you become whole again. And something powerful happens when you step into that stillness. You begin to see your worth clearly, without their distortion. You see that your empathy is not a flaw. Your kindness is not weakness. Your boundaries are not walls. They're the gates to your inner world, and not everyone deserves a key. You start walking differently. You speak with more intention. You no longer explain your peace. You embody it. And those who once had control over you begin to fade into the background. Their opinions lose their grip. Their absence no longer feels like loss. It feels like clarity. The truth is, mastering your emotions doesn't just protect you from toxic people. It transforms every part of your life. It changes how you handle stress, conflict, rejection, failure. You stop reacting to life like a victim and start responding like a creator. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That shift is power. That's where freedom lives. You become the calm in the storm, the eye that never moves, no matter how hard the winds rage around it. And once you taste that kind of peace, you'll never trade it again. You'll start setting boundaries that used to scare you. You'll say no without apology. You'll walk away without guilt, because you'll understand that your energy is the currency of your life, and you can't afford to keep spending it on people who drain you. You'll start protecting your focus, your time, your mind. You'll notice how your world changes when you stop trying to fix others and start healing yourself. You'll realize that emotional mastery isn't just self-defense, it's self-liberation. This is where your strength becomes quiet, your presence becomes undeniable. People will feel the difference. Some will respect it, some will fear it. The toxic ones will try one last time to pull you back into the old dance, but you won't move. You'll just look at them and know they have no power here anymore. And that's when you understand the truth that changes everything. You don't need to win against them. You just need to stop playing their game. Because peace is not passive. It's a declaration. It's the moment you decide that your energy is sacred, your emotions are yours, and your life belongs to no one's manipulation. When you reach that point, nothing they say can touch you. Nothing they do can move you. You are steady, grounded, free. You have mastered the one skill that ends their control forever. And now, when they try to shake you, all they'll find is silence and the unbreakable strength of someone who finally knows their worth. The moment you stop playing their game, everything around you begins to shift. The world doesn't look the same. The noise starts to fade. You begin to see how much of your identity was built around surviving people who were never meant to have access to you. You realize how many versions of yourself you created just to be tolerated. How many times you swallowed your truth to keep the peace that was never real. But now, you feel something different, something rising inside you that doesn't need permission anymore. It's quiet but powerful. It's not the sound of anger. It's the sound of awakening. You start to understand that your strength was never supposed to be loud. It was meant to be steady. The kind of strength that doesn't flinch when someone tries to provoke it. The kind that smiles at chaos because it knows peace is power. And this new version of you isn't looking for revenge. You're not here to prove anything. You're here to rise above it all. You're learning that control isn't about domination. It's about direction. You decide where your energy goes. You decide who gets access. You decide what deserves your reaction. That's real control. That's mastery. But here's the part no one tells you. When you start living this way, not everyone will celebrate it. Some will see your calm as arrogance. Some will call you distant, cold, selfish. Let them. They're not seeing your peace. They're feeling the loss of their control. They're watching you become untouchable, and it terrifies them. Because when you no longer feed their chaos, they're left with the truth of their own emptiness. You were never their victim. You were their distraction from themselves. And now that you've stepped away, they're forced to face what they've been running from all along. This is where you must stay strong. The urge to explain yourself will rise like a tide. You'll want to defend your peace, justify your silence, make them see your side. Don't. Let your silence be the statement. Let your calm be the consequence. You don't need to prove your growth to those who never wanted you to grow. They wouldn't understand it, even if you explained it perfectly. Your peace isn't up for debate. It's your new standard. And as you stand in this new strength, something powerful happens. You start attracting people who speak the same language of peace. People who don't compete with your calm, but match it. People who don't drain your energy, but multiply it. You'll begin to see how your energy shifts the room, how your presence commands respect without you saying a word, because true power doesn't need to announce itself. It simply exists. You'll also notice how life begins to align differently. Opportunities that once felt impossible start to open up. You stop chasing, and things start coming to you. You stop begging to be seen, and suddenly the right people notice you without effort. That's the magic of emotional mastery. It doesn't just protect you from the wrong energy, it draws in the right one. You no longer move from fear, you move from intention, and when you live from intention, everything changes. But this isn't just about relationships or toxic people anymore. It's about who you're becoming. It's about the way you carry yourself when no one's watching. It's about the moment you catch your reflection and finally recognize the person staring back. No more guilt, no more pretending, just clarity, strength, freedom. That's what happens when you stop letting others define your peace. You start defining your life. And if there's one truth to hold on to, it's this: your emotions are not weaknesses to be hidden. They are signals, tools. They are the language of your intuition, guiding you toward the life you deserve. When you master that language, you become unstoppable. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop surviving and start living. You stop shrinking for people who fear your power, and you start walking like you were meant to, steady, grounded, and free. So keep your peace like armor. Protect it like gold. Because once you've tasted the strength that comes from mastering your emotions, you'll never go back. You'll never chase chaos again. You'll never let anyone take your calm. The noise will rise, but you'll stay still. The world will pull, but you'll stand firm. And when toxic people try to shake you again, they'll finally realize they're not up against the same person. They're up against the one thing they can't control anymore. A mind that's unshakable, a heart that's whole, a soul that's finally free. Every time you choose peace over reaction, you rewrite your story. Every moment you hold your ground, you reclaim a piece of yourself that chaos once owned. You start realizing that strength isn't about winning arguments. It's about refusing to lose your center. It's the quiet power that comes from knowing who you are, even when someone tries to convince you otherwise. You stop letting their words echo in your head. You stop replaying their insults. You stop waiting for closure that will never come. Because you understand now, closure isn't something they give you. It's something you create when you decide their behavior no longer deserves your attention. This is where your real transformation begins. You start walking through life with a calm that others can feel. You carry yourself differently, not because you're trying to prove a point, but because you've outgrown the need to. You're not chasing peace anymore. You are peace. And that kind of power can't be faked. It's born in the fire of every moment you refuse to break. Every time you stood still when someone tried to pull you into their storm. Every time you chose to breathe instead of react, to walk away instead of fight. That's where resilience is built. In silence, in stillness, in the decision to stay centered no matter what comes your way. The truth is, emotional mastery isn't just about defense. It's about creation. It's about designing a life that reflects your worth, not your wounds. You begin setting standards instead of settling for survival. You stop seeking comfort from those who caused your pain. You stop begging for love that has conditions attached. You learn to sit with discomfort without losing yourself in it. You start understanding that growth doesn't feel good, it feels necessary. And the more you honor that truth, the stronger you become. There will still be tests. People will still try to provoke you, question you, misunderstand you. But their noise won't penetrate your peace anymore. You'll start to notice that the things that used to shake you now feel distant, almost irrelevant. You won't feel the need to defend your choices because your life will speak for you. You'll begin to value silence more than explanation, peace more than validation, solitude more than approval. And in that stillness, you'll find the one thing that toxic people never wanted you to discover: yourself. When you know who you are, manipulation loses its grip. No one can use your emotions against you when you've learned to hold them with compassion instead of shame. No one can guilt you into staying small when you finally felt the power of your own light. That's the point of no return. The moment you realize that peace is not something you wait for, it's something you decide to protect every single day. And once you've tasted that level of control, you'll start seeing life differently. You'll notice how much time you wasted trying to change people who were never willing to change themselves. You'll see how much energy you poured into proving your worth to those who were never capable of recognizing it. That realization hurts at first. It burns. But it's a cleansing fire. It clears the space for something greater, self-respect. You start standing taller, speaking slower, moving with purpose. You stop reacting to what's beneath you. You understand that peace isn't the absence of noise, it's the presence of power. You become the calm force others feel, but can't quite explain. And when those same people who once drained you come back, they'll sense it immediately. They'll feel that something in you has changed. They'll test you, waiting for the old you to return, but they won't find them. That version of you doesn't exist anymore because now you've mastered what most never will. You've learned that control isn't about changing others. It's about mastering yourself. It's about realizing that every reaction, every emotion, every decision is a choice. And when you start choosing from peace instead of pain, everything changes. You attract better, you live freer, you think clearer, and the world starts reflecting that same energy back to you. So don't look back. Don't shrink. Don't apologize for the power you found. You earned this peace. You bled for it, you fought for it, and now it's yours to protect. No toxic person, no manipulation, no storm can take it from you. Because when you've mastered your emotions, you've mastered your life. And from this point on, no one, not even the loudest chaos, can shake you again. You start to understand that peace isn't passive. It's a weapon, not one forged in anger or revenge, but in clarity. The kind of clarity that cuts through manipulation like glass. You stop needing people to see your worth because you've already seen it for yourself. You stop waiting for an apology that will never come because you've realized you don't need it to heal. Forgiveness stops being something you give to others. It becomes something you give to yourself to free your mind from the grip of their chaos. You stop bleeding for people who never once offered you a bandage. And that's when you become dangerous, not because you seek to harm, but because you can no longer be harmed. The same energy that once felt fragile now burns steady, like a flame that doesn't waver. You walk into rooms differently. You speak with a calm that commands attention without effort. You no longer chase love, you embody it. You no longer beg to be understood, you simply live in truth. People feel your presence before you say a word, because your energy carries weight now. It's grounded, unmoved. And those who once thrived on your reactions, they feel it too. They'll try to provoke you, desperate to see the old version of you rise again, but all they'll find is silence, a silence that speaks louder than any argument ever could. That silence is your victory. It's proof that you've evolved beyond the reach of manipulation. It's the echo of your power returning home. You begin to see that peace is not about running from the storm. It's about standing in it and refusing to sway. It's about realizing that life will always test you, but your reaction determines whether you pass or repeat the lesson. You start catching yourself before the spiral. You start breathing before breaking. You begin to feel how discipline and emotional control are not cages, they're freedom. The kind of freedom that can't be taken, only surrendered. Every time you choose stillness over chaos, your strength compounds. Every moment you hold your peace in the face of provocation, you grow more untouchable. You start to feel the weight of self-respect settle into your bones. It's no longer about proving you're strong. It's about knowing you are. That's what mastery feels like. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's the quiet confidence that doesn't need validation. It's the unspoken knowing that no matter what they say, no matter how hard they try, you will not bend. And the world starts to mirror that back. The situations that once drained you no longer have power. The people who once confused you no longer interest you. You see the patterns, the cycles, the manipulation for what they truly are. Distractions. You no longer fight them, because fighting gives them life. You simply rise above them, and that elevation changes everything. You start operating at a higher frequency, where drama can't breathe, and toxicity can't survive. That's when life begins to open up. Opportunities appear where there was once struggle. Peace follows you because you've stopped chasing chaos. But this new strength comes with responsibility. You can't unsee the truth. You can't go back to the person who tolerated disrespect just to feel loved. You can't shrink yourself for comfort. You've built too much peace to waste it now. So you start moving differently. You think before reacting. You speak with intention. You walk with purpose. You realize that protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's sacred. It's the foundation that allows everything else to thrive. This is the version of you that toxic people fear. Not because you fight them, but because you don't. Because you've become unreachable. Their chaos no longer shakes you. Their silence no longer scares you. Their approval no longer defines you. You've built something they can't destroy, an inner world that belongs only to you. And when you finally understand that, you stop waiting for peace to come from the outside. You stop expecting people to change. You stop hoping for the world to be easier. You just rise again and again, calm, unshaken, free. Because in the end, emotional mastery isn't just a skill, it's liberation. It's the moment you stop being a prisoner of other people's storms and start becoming the eye of your own. It's when you realize that no one can shake you unless you hand them the permission to do so. And now, you never will again. You start to realize that power isn't something you find, it's something you remember. It's been buried under years of doubt, hidden beneath the noise of other people's opinions, waiting for you to reclaim it. Every time you stayed silent when you wanted to speak. Every time you settled when you knew you deserved more. Every time you bent yourself just to fit into places that didn't value you, that's where your power slipped away. But now you see it clearly. You were never weak. You were conditioned to forget your strength. And the moment you remember who you are, everything shifts. You begin to understand that peace and power are the same thing. They don't live in loud words or in being right. They live in control. Control of your reactions, control of your focus, control of your story. You stop letting other people's chaos set the tone of your life. You stop letting pain dictate your pace. You stop giving energy to things that have already proven unworthy of it, because now you know that every reaction is a choice, and every choice builds or destroys your peace. You've finally chosen to build, and that decision changes everything. It changes how you speak, how you move, how you show up. You no longer seek validation from the ones who never understood you. You no longer explain your worth to those who benefit from your confusion. You stop waiting for permission to live freely. You've learned that nobody grants freedom, you take it. With every boundary you enforce, with every silence you choose, with every truth you refuse to bury, you take it back piece by piece. But growth comes with a cost. The more peaceful you become, the more people will project their chaos onto you. They'll test you. They'll try to pull you back into the old version of yourself because that's where they felt powerful. Don't go back. Don't shrink to make others comfortable. Every time you choose calm over conflict, you're rewriting what power means. They won't understand it, but you will. You'll feel it in the way your chest stops tightening when they speak, in the way your mind stops racing after every argument, in the way your heart stays steady even when the world shakes around you. That's emotional mastery. That's freedom in its purest form. And this freedom starts to bleed into every corner of your life. You stop rushing. You stop forcing. You stop trying to prove yourself through struggle. You begin to trust your timing. You start to see how everything that left you had to. Every ending carved out space for something stronger to grow. Every loss stripped away what was never meant for the person you're becoming. You no longer see endings as failure. You see them as refinement. The fire didn't burn you, it shaped you. It burned away what you didn't need so that what remained could finally stand unshaken. You start moving through life with quiet authority. You no longer beg for peace. You are the source of it. You no longer chase purpose. You live it. You no longer seek love in chaos. You attract it through calm. The people who are meant for you will feel safe around your stillness. They'll recognize your energy, not because it's loud, but because it's real. That's what happens when you stop being reactive. You become magnetic. You draw in what matches your peace, and everything else falls away. But here's the truth most never face. You can't master your emotions and still live like a victim. You can't claim peace while holding on to stories of powerlessness. You can't evolve if you keep identifying with the pain that was meant to grow you. You must choose the old version of you or the one waiting on the other side of surrender. Because transformation doesn't happen when you feel ready. It happens when you decide you're done being shaken by what no longer deserves you. So you rise. Not with noise, not with anger, but with clarity. You walk away without resentment. You speak with intention. You protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. The same peace you once begged for, you now command. The same chaos that once consumed you now breaks against you and fades. And when toxic people try to find the old you, they'll realize too late the version they could manipulate no longer exists. The new you doesn't react. The new you doesn't chase. The new you doesn't need validation. The new you just stands steady, still, and unshakable. Because once you've mastered yourself, no one on this earth can move you again. You begin to understand that real strength isn't loud. It's not found in proving a point or being the last one to speak. It's found in restraint, in the pause before you respond, in the choice to protect your peace instead of your pride. That's where true power lives. In the space between reaction and response. It's the point where you stop letting people pull you into their chaos and start pulling yourself into your purpose. You don't need to outshout anyone. You just need to outgrow them. Because growth is silent, and it always speaks louder than noise. You start seeing how much energy you used to waste trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. You start realizing how often you gave your power away through explanation, through overthinking, through trying to fix people who didn't want to be fixed. That's the real shift. You stop chasing clarity from others and start creating it within yourself. You don't need their agreement. You don't need their approval. The moment you stop depending on external validation, your emotional world becomes untouchable. You finally see that peace doesn't mean life stops testing you. It means you stop failing the same test twice. And this is where everything changes. You begin living with intention. Every decision, every word, every silence carries weight. You no longer speak to be heard. You speak to be effective. You no longer move out of fear. You move out of alignment. You no longer shrink in the presence of pressure. You rise through it. The things that once broke you now build you. The same storms that once terrified you now fuel your growth. Because once you stood in the fire and refused to burn, you stop fearing the heat. You realize you were never fragile. You were unpracticed in your own power. The more you master this, the more the world starts responding differently. Not because it's changed, but because you have. You stop reacting to negativity and start redirecting it. You stop giving attention to people who drain you and start investing in what restores you. You begin to notice how peace creates distance, and that distance is protection. You stop confusing loneliness with peace, silence with absence, boundaries with rejection. You start seeing how strength sometimes looks like walking away and never explaining why. That's emotional evolution, the point where peace stops being something you fight for and becomes something you enforce. But with that power comes a deeper responsibility. You can't just protect your peace, you have to live in a way that honors it. That means walking with integrity when no one's watching. That means being honest with yourself even when it hurts. That means letting go of guilt, resentment, and old versions of yourself that kept you small. Because the truth is the person you're becoming can't coexist with the person you were. You have to choose. And every time you choose peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, growth over comfort, you build that new version stronger. There will be moments when you're tempted to go back, to react, to defend yourself, to prove your worth. But remember, peace doesn't need proof. It just is. You don't need to match anyone's energy. You just need to maintain your own. Because your calm is not weakness. It's dominance. It's the highest form of emotional intelligence. The ability to stay grounded when the world tries to pull you under. The strength to remain kind in the face of cruelty. The courage to remain silent when noise demands attention. That's mastery, and it terrifies the ones who can't control it. Soon you'll notice how your energy begins to speak before you do. People will treat you differently, not because they've changed, but because they can feel you have. You'll start drawing in those who align with your peace and repelling those who can't stand it. Your silence will start saying more than your words ever did. And you'll finally understand that emotional mastery isn't about being unaffected. It's about being unshakable. It's about walking through storms with your spirit untouched, your vision clear, your purpose steady. This is your turning point, the moment you stop being controlled by what happens around you and start creating what happens within you. The moment you stop being a product of other people's behavior and start being a reflection of your own discipline. That's when everything shifts. That's when toxic people lose their grip. That's when chaos loses its hold. Because peace isn't just something you protect. It's something you become. And once you become it, nothing and no one can ever shake you again. There comes a point when you realize that waiting for the right time is the very thing holding you back. You've been convincing yourself that you're not ready, that you need more clarity, more confidence, more signs. But deep down, you know the truth. You've had everything you needed all along. Fear has just been disguising itself as logic, whispering that safety is wisdom when in reality it's just stagnation. You've been waiting for permission from a world that benefits from your hesitation. But here's the truth no one tells you. The door won't open until you move toward it. Life doesn't reward those who wait. It rewards those who act, even when their hands are shaking. You're not supposed to feel ready. Readiness is a myth, a comforting lie we tell ourselves to delay discomfort. Growth doesn't wait for perfect timing. It demands courage and imperfection. Every step you take without certainty builds it. Every time you choose progress over fear, you rewire your identity. You stop being the person who dreams about change and become the person who makes it happen. That's how transformation begins. Not with clarity, but with movement. You don't find your path by thinking about it. You find it by walking into the unknown. By trusting that even the smallest step forward has meaning. There's a reason the universe hides your next chapter behind fear. It's a test to see if you truly want what you say you do. Because if your desire isn't strong enough to move through fear, then it was never meant to define you. Fear will always be loud, but you can't let it dictate the volume of your ambition. The more you chase growth, the more resistance you'll feel. That's not a sign to stop. It's proof that you're getting close to something real. Pressure is evidence of potential. The weight you feel is not meant to crush you. It's meant to shape you. Every ounce of discomfort is strength being carved into your character. You've been through enough to know that staying the same hurts more than changing ever will. Comfort may feel safe, but it's a slow death, a quiet suffocation of your potential. You weren't built to play small. You were built to rise, to break patterns, to rewrite your story when it no longer fits who you're becoming. The pain you felt wasn't punishment. It was preparation. It taught you resilience, patience, and the kind of strength that only hardship can forge. You didn't survive everything you did just to remain stuck in the same place. You've earned the right to evolve. Every day you wait is a day lost to hesitation. The clock doesn't pause for your fear. The world keeps spinning, opportunities keep passing, and time keeps demanding proof of your priorities. You can either let it slip through your fingers or decide that this moment, right now, is the turning point. Not next week, not next year, not when you feel ready. Now. Because the moment you act despite fear, fear loses its power. The chains of self-doubt start to crack, and the person you've always imagined yourself to be begins to emerge. You don't need to conquer the entire mountain today. You just need to start climbing. Look at where you are. Everything you've endured, every failure, every heartbreak, it wasn't random. It was refining you, stripping away the layers of who you thought you needed to be so you could finally meet who you were meant to become. You've already done the hardest part. You've survived. Now it's time to live, to move with intention, to speak with conviction, to stop apologizing for the fire inside you. That fire is your guide. It's the reminder that you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break through. When you finally choose to act, everything shifts. The world starts bending in your favor, not because it suddenly got easier, but because you finally stopped fighting against yourself. The energy you once wasted on fear becomes fuel for momentum. The voice that once told you to wait becomes silent beneath the sound of your footsteps. This is what freedom feels like. Not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. You're not here to wait for change. You're here to create it. And the moment you decide to move, life moves with you. The only question left is, will you take the first step, or will you spend the rest of your life wondering what could have happened if you did? There's a moment when you stop running from the noise and realize the chaos was never around you. It was inside you. All this time, you thought the world was attacking you, when really it was your own thoughts doing the damage, the voices that replay every mistake, the doubts that echo louder than truth, the fear that convinces you peace is something earned, not something chosen. But the real mastery begins when you stop trying to silence the world and instead quiet your own reaction to it. Because the people who can't be shaken are not those with perfect lives. They're the ones who've learned how to stay still in the storm. You've met people like that before, the ones who don't flinch when others lose control, the ones who don't explain, defend, or justify. They move through chaos like it's background noise. That isn't luck. That's discipline. That's emotional mastery, the skill that separates the powerful from the reactive. And it's something you can build piece by piece, moment by moment, until no one's words can reach inside you and pull you apart. The reason toxic people have power over you isn't because they're strong. It's because they found your triggers. They know where your insecurities hide, and they press on them until you break. But here's the truth. They can't steal what you refuse to hand them. When you stop reacting, you stop feeding their need for control. When you respond with calm instead of chaos, you starve their influence. You become unpredictable. And that's what terrifies them the most. Your peace. Because peace is power they can't touch. Think about it. How many times have you replayed an argument in your head? How many hours have you spent explaining yourself to someone who already decided not to understand you? Every time you do, you give them space in your mind they never earned. But what if you took it back? What if the next time someone tried to pull you into their storm, you just didn't go? That's not weakness. That's strength disguised as stillness. That's self-control in its highest form. The ability to choose peace even when provoked. You won't master this overnight. Emotional mastery isn't built in comfort. It's forged in the fire of every moment you could have reacted but didn't. Every time you breathe instead of breaking. Every time you let silence answer what doesn't deserve your energy. The world tells you to fight fire with fire, but the truth is, you win by refusing to burn. The moment you stop letting your emotions dictate your actions, you become untouchable. You stop being a puppet in someone else's game. You start being the one who writes the rules. The calm you build will scare people who thrive on chaos. They'll try to pull you back, to test you, to make you react. But don't mistake their noise for your weakness. It's a sign you're evolving beyond their reach. When you rise above what used to trigger you, you're no longer their victim. You're the lesson they never wanted to learn. And the beauty of mastery is that you don't have to prove it. You just live it. You'll notice the shift. The things that used to break you will barely move you. The people who once drained you will lose their grip. And the world that once felt loud will fall silent around your stillness. That silence isn't emptiness, it's control, it's awareness. It's the moment you realize that peace isn't given, it's created. It's claimed in every decision not to be dragged into someone else's chaos. So when they push your buttons, when they throw their words like knives, when they try to twist your emotions, remember, the only power they have is the power you react to. Keep your calm, guard your energy, protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Emotional mastery isn't about being emotionless, it's about owning your emotions so completely that no one else can weaponize them against you. You've already fought battles no one saw. You've already survived storms that should have broken you. This mastery is the next step. It's not about changing the world around you. It's about changing how the world moves within you. The moment you stop reacting, the world stops controlling you. And that's when the real transformation begins. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet power, steady and unshakable. Because when your peace becomes stronger than their chaos, no one, not even the most toxic person, can shake you again. At some point, you realize the real battle was never about them. It was always about you, about whether you could rise above the noise, silence the inner storm, and choose peace over reaction. The world will always test you. People will always project their pain, their fear, their insecurities onto you. But your response, your ability to stay grounded, determines whether you live in chaos or control. The truth is, most people are addicted to reaction. They need to feel something, anything, to prove they still matter. But when you no longer react to what's beneath you, you break the cycle. You become the calm eye in the middle of every storm. It's not easy to reach that place. You'll be tested. They'll call you cold, detached, arrogant. They'll say you've changed, and they'll be right. You have, because peace requires transformation. It demands that you stop living for validation and start living from power. When you no longer depend on someone else's approval, you reclaim the energy you once gave away trying to please everyone. That's what freedom feels like. Not the absence of problems, but the absence of control over your emotions. You begin to understand that mastery isn't about never feeling pain. It's about not letting pain define your behavior. The same emotions that once made you react now become tools of awareness. Anger becomes a signal, not a weapon. Sadness becomes reflection, not weakness. Every emotion becomes information, not manipulation. That's how you grow, by refusing to be a slave to the moment. By remembering that every second you stay centered, you're breaking a pattern that's ruled you for years. But this isn't just about toxic people anymore. It's about every situation that's tried to steal your power. Every memory that still tugs at your emotions. Every story you tell yourself about why you can't move forward. Emotional mastery isn't just defense. It's liberation. It's realizing that nothing external can hold you hostage once you learn to master what's within. The people who once controlled you lose their grip not because they change, but because you do. You stop being predictable. You stop being reactive. You stop being available for chaos. And that's when your life begins to align with peace, not pain. Imagine walking through conflict and not feeling threatened. Imagine hearing criticism and not shrinking. Imagine standing in front of your past and not feeling small. That's what emotional mastery creates. Not a life without struggle, but a mind unshaken by it. You start to see how rare that is. How many people spend their entire lives reacting to things that don't deserve their energy. They waste years fighting ghosts, chasing apologies, seeking closure from those incapable of giving it. But the truth is, closure comes from understanding you no longer need it. You can let go, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve freedom. This is the moment you stop negotiating your peace. No more explaining, no more trying to make people see your worth, no more trading your energy for temporary approval. Your calm becomes your boundary, your silence becomes your power, and your peace becomes the standard by which you live. You start to attract differently. The energy you radiate begins to shift. The people who once drained you will fall away because they can no longer reach you. And the people who resonate with your peace will find you, drawn to the quiet strength that doesn't need to prove itself. The world will still try to pull you back. It always does. It will test your patience, your values, your identity. But that's when you remember who you've become. The person who once reacted out of fear now responds from awareness. The one who once chased control now chooses stillness. You've evolved from surviving emotions to mastering them. And that mastery changes everything. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's absolute. Because in the end, power isn't about dominance or control. It's about unshakable peace. The kind of peace that no insult can pierce. The kind of strength that no manipulation can touch. You don't fight toxic people anymore. You outgrow them. You don't match their energy. You rise above it. And the moment you realize no one can pull you off center unless you let them, that's the moment you finally win. You don't just survive the chaos, you transcend it. And from that stillness, from that deep inner calm, you finally see it clearly. They were never the threat. Your lack of control was. But now you've mastered it. And that changes everything. You start to realize that real power has nothing to do with how loud you speak or how much you prove. It's the quiet authority that comes from knowing you can walk away without losing yourself. The kind of confidence that doesn't need to be announced because it's felt. That's the level they can't reach. The place where your peace is louder than their chaos. Toxic people crumble in the presence of someone who no longer plays their game, because their game only works if you still need to win. But once you stop trying to win with people who thrive on losing you, the control is gone. You hold the power they were desperate to take. This is what strength truly looks like, not rage, not dominance, not revenge. It's restraint, it's clarity. It's looking at someone who once knew every way to hurt you and realizing none of it works anymore. That's freedom. That's evolution. When you can see manipulation for what it is and not what it makes you feel, you've crossed a line most people never reach. The pain that once broke you becomes proof of how far you've come. You don't fear toxic people anymore because you've mastered what they'll never understand, emotional control. And that control transforms everything. The conversations that used to drain you now bore you. The arguments you once rehearsed in your head disappear. You stop needing to explain your peace to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. You stop fighting to be seen by those who refuse to look. Every moment you refuse to react, you reclaim another piece of yourself. The same silence that once felt like defeat now feels like victory. Because silence isn't submission. It's strategy. It's the art of no longer investing in what can't grow you. They will notice. They always do. When your energy changes, their tactics fail. They'll try to provoke you, guilt you, confuse you. Anything to bring you back to the old version of yourself. The one who used to flinch, argue, and justify. But this time, you don't. You've seen the pattern too many times to fall for it again. You've learned that peace doesn't need permission. It doesn't require closure, apology, or validation. It requires discipline. The discipline to walk away when everything in you wants to prove your worth. The discipline to stay calm while their world shakes. That's how you win, not through reaction, but through refusal. And when you refuse to react, something incredible happens. You start to see people for who they really are, not who they pretend to be. The masks fall, the illusions break, the energy reveals itself. You no longer take their behavior personally because you understand it was never about you. It was always about their own chaos, their own wounds, their own emptiness. They project what they can't process. They try to control what they can't heal. But that's not your burden anymore. You've outgrown it. The real challenge now isn't keeping them out. It's keeping your peace in. Because peace, once found, must be protected. It's fragile at first, but with every test, it becomes unbreakable. Every moment you hold your center, you're building an unshakable foundation within yourself. That's what they don't tell you about emotional mastery. It's not about becoming numb. It's about becoming free. Free from the roller coaster of other people's emotions. Free from the guilt that kept you tied to their drama. Free from the need to fix what was never yours to fix. You start moving differently, speaking differently, thinking differently. Not because you've changed who you are, but because you've finally remembered who you've always been beneath the noise. Calm, capable, whole. You stop matching energy and start setting it. You stop reacting to the world and start directing it. That's the shift that separates the reactive from the powerful. The moment you realize that control isn't about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself. So when they come for your peace again, and they will, remember this. Their chaos only works if you let it inside you. Keep your peace. Guard it like your life depends on it, because in a way, it does. Peace is your clarity, your strength, your armor. When you master that, you don't need to fight toxic people anymore. They fight themselves trying to reach you. And you walk away untouched, unbothered, and completely free. There's a power that comes when you no longer need to defend your peace. When you stop reacting, stop explaining, stop letting your emotions be pulled like strings by people who don't even deserve to touch them. That power changes how you move through the world. You walk differently, you think differently, you speak less, but your silence says more than any argument ever could. You become grounded, rooted, unmovable, and that stillness, what they mistake for weakness, is actually your greatest strength. Because you've learned what most people never do. Calm is not the absence of emotion. It's the mastery of it. When you reach this level, life starts revealing its real game. You start to see how much of the world feeds on reaction. Media, arguments, social validation. They all depend on keeping you emotionally hooked. Outrage is their currency. Reaction is their control. But when you no longer take the bait, you take back your freedom. You start living on your terms, not as a puppet of every headline, every insult, every toxic person who wants to see you break. The world doesn't change. You do. And that's enough to shift everything. You become harder to manipulate because you no longer operate from need. You're not chasing validation, not seeking approval, not begging to be understood. You're anchored. And when you're anchored, storms can rage and waves can crash, but you remain steady. The chaos outside can't disturb the calm within. That's emotional sovereignty, the place where no one owns a piece of your peace anymore. But understand this, peace comes with a price. The moment you step into it, you'll lose people, the ones who fed on your reactions, who thrived on drama, who only felt alive when they could make you doubt yourself. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you've become distant, cold, selfish. But the truth is, you just stopped handing them access to your energy. You stopped bleeding yourself dry to keep others comfortable. You stopped trying to save people who weren't drowning. They were swimming in the chaos they created. And when you stop playing their game, they lose control. That's why they push harder. That's why they lash out, because your peace exposes their chaos. This is where most people give up, because peace can feel lonely at first. You'll miss the noise. You'll miss the validation. You'll even miss the chaos that once defined you. But that emptiness isn't loneliness, it's healing. It's space being created for something higher. Because once you've tasted real peace, you'll never trade it for approval again. You'll never settle for relationships built on emotional warfare. You'll never chase acceptance from people who can't even accept themselves. And slowly, the loneliness turns into liberation. You start to see how light you feel without the weight of other people's expectations. You start to breathe deeper, think clearer, move slower. You begin to realize that peace isn't passive, it's power restrained. It's knowing you could destroy someone with truth or reaction, but choosing silence instead. Because silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You're not avoiding the fight, you're outgrowing the battlefield. And the more you grow, the clearer it becomes. You can't control the world, but you can master how you move through it. That's where your strength lies. You don't need to match energy anymore. You create it. You don't need to explain yourself anymore. Your peace speaks for you. Every situation that once pulled you apart now teaches you something about who you've become. You don't flinch. You don't chase. You don't explain. You simply observe. And in that stillness, you find truth. Because when you master your emotions, you master your reality. You start to see that no one can shake you unless you hand them permission to. And when you stop giving that permission, toxic people lose their power entirely. They can try to provoke, but you've outgrown their reach. They can talk, but you've learned to stop listening. They can attack, but their words can't land where peace already lives. You've become what they fear most, a person they can't control. This is the ultimate mastery, not over others, but over yourself. The kind of mastery that doesn't shout, doesn't prove, doesn't chase. It simply exists, quiet, unshakable, complete. Because when your inner world is still, no storm outside can destroy you. And that's the moment you realize the goal was never to win against toxic people. The goal was to win yourself back, and now you have. You start to understand that peace isn't just a feeling, it's a choice you make over and over again, even when it costs you people, comfort, or familiarity. Because the truth is, not everyone can follow you where you're going. Some people are only meant to exist in the chaos version of your life, the version where you doubted yourself, where you explained too much, where you carried guilt that was never yours. They don't know how to stand beside someone who no longer bleeds for attention. And when they realize they can't pull you back into their storm, They'll try to convince you that your calm is arrogance, that your boundaries are cruelty. But you'll know better. You'll know that peace is simply what power sounds like when it stops needing to prove itself. Every time you choose stillness over reaction, you're rewriting your identity. You're telling your nervous system, your mind, your past, that you are no longer controlled by chaos, that you don't have to attend every battle you're invited to. You stop wasting energy on defending your worth because real strength doesn't need defense. It's self-evident. It radiates quietly in how you move, how you speak, how you refuse to let anyone else set your emotional temperature. That's mastery. The world can throw its worst at you, and you'll still stand tall, breathing steady, heart unbroken. The people who once made you question your worth will start to fade into the background noise. Their opinions lose weight.